Just wanted to talk with you guys about the Cape Symphony's annual Holiday on the Cape concert series. We just wanted to highlight the whole presentation. We have a Nutcracker presentation within it, but first things first, Jung Ho Park, do you mind just giving us a quick overview of that annual concert series for our listeners?
I'd love to. We call it, I think, home for the holidays or holidays on the Cape. We want it to feel very, very local. The Cape is a very unique community, and the more local quality, more local talent we have, the better. And one of the great examples of that is that we've got some lovely dancers who are being led by Michelle, the director of dance at the Cape Symphony, and she's put together and envisioned a very unusual nutcracker. This nutcracker, most nutcrackers last around 2 hours long. This nutcracker is about 15 minutes long. And what makes it so special is that you will feel very, very, I think, very completed, very sated after hearing this nutcracker. We worked very hard to bring out just the highlights, the very best moments of Nutcracker. And you can hear, everything from the overture, the Waltz of the Flowers, and other great Sugar Plum Fairy, all these great pieces of music that Tchaikovsky wrote, all within this 15-minute suite. But you're also going to see just beautiful dancers who are going to express the storyline through their beautiful choreography by Michelle. I've seen the choreography. It's absolutely wonderful. She actually has me involved as well, the conductor. So I'm going to be working a little bit on during the show. Chris is a fantastic dancer, which you'll get to meet him in just a little bit. So this show, on the first half, people are going to have beautiful music, a tribute to Hanukkah, some other well-known tunes, but we conclude with this special version of Nutcracker. And then on the second half, our special guest artists include the Viva Trio from Canada, three amazing sopranos who sing with such tight harmony, gorgeous operatic voices, but they sing music that's a bit more crossover, populist in feel to it. It's just going to be a spectacle. We like to say that more is more at the Cape Symphony, and this show is definitely more.
All right, that brings us to Michelle. You're the choreographer for this presentation. Do you mind just talking more about what goes into it from your end, some of your contributions? How much control do you have over it? Are there notes that come with essentially a copy of the Nutcracker that kind of indicate the way to stage this? Do you mind just talking a little bit more about what your work that you've put into this presentation?
Absolutely. So it all started when I had a parent say to me, I wish I could bring my younger child to the Nutcracker. And obviously, it's a very long show for a young child. And that kind of got my wheels turning. So last year, at the end of our season, Jung Ho came to me and said, what do you think about involving dance in the Holiday Pops concert? And I said, actually, I would love to do an abridged version of the Nutcracker that still took you on the entire story. So you feel very transported to this magical land and then back home again. And the real beauty about this Nutcracker is that it's performed with the live music on stage. So you'll see the orchestra behind and the dancers in front, all on stage. And what we're really hoping to achieve is this beautiful marriage between the music and dance and that conversation piece, which sometimes we get lost if it's the orchestra is lower or the dancers are lower. It's beautiful that it's happening on the same stage in the same space. And I think that's what something I'm the most excited about, is to see that Clara's ultimate gift at the end of this show is, of course, the Nutcracker, but the true gift is the soundscape to her dream, which is the music.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to deciding what parts you're going to present, as it's already been highlighted, this is the 15-minute presentation version. You're trying to hit the high points. What made you decide which pieces are most important and how to transition from each segment in order to maintain that through line of the story?
That's a wonderful question. Yeah, so I started by taking actually my own experience as a young dancer who performed the Nutcracker. So I have this unique scope of what really stood out to me. So I did pull from personal experience. So I did start with the party scene, because the party scene is where you see all the children come to receive the gifts. The Nutcracker is presented at that moment. So I feel that that is a very important scene. It's also very well known. That march is very well known. So I thought that was a very important idea to take for the first half. And then after that, I thought about, okay, Clara is going to fall asleep and she could wake up in the land of snow. Yeah, so we don't see the mouse battle. We skip right over into her falling asleep and waking up into this beautiful dreamland where she finds the king and queen of snow begin to dance. And that's where Christopher will come in his snow queen, Kiara. And they will be joined by a few of the Cape Symphony Dance Company members in their scene. And then we see a transportation with light. So my younger dancers will carry candles and she will be transported through this land of snow to the enchanted palace. So now we kind of bring it into the Nutcracker's second half. At this enchanted palace, she's able to see the enchanted children dance, which is a sweet number for our younger dancers. And then we see the flower fairy variation. She's doing a duet actually with Clara. So Clara is so moved by this beautiful flower fairy that she feels compelled to dance with her. And then the last part of that second half is the sugar plum fairy. So the sugar plum fairy comes out and everyone's mesmerized. And after that, everyone claps, everyone's excited. They go back home to their enchanted palace. The Snow Queen puts a magical spell onto Clara to make her fall back asleep. And then she will wake up again at the party, which is Jung Ho's party, right? The symphony orchestra, the musicians are his guests, and Clara's guests are the young children that you'll see in the beginning. So we're really hoping that you see the full story. And yes, there will be show notes in the program. You can find them using our QR code.
That is awesome. It sounds like you're able to produce a very fulfilling theme, even though it's just going to be a shortened version. It still feels like a full story. You mentioned the young performers, that some are no older than 13. Do you mind talking about working alongside them, the importance of getting them involved with this presentation?
Absolutely. So we have two girls that are starring as Clara. They're splitting their role, 3 shows and 3 shows. One is 12. Her name is Annika Wainen. And the older one is 13, and she is Mia Henderson. And both dancers are beautiful in their technique, beautiful in their showmanship, but also just wonderful dancers to work with. You can count on them. I can count on them. I know they're counting music. If I need to remember something, I don't worry about saying, hey, can you remind me this at the end of rehearsal? And they're on it. So the two of them are just absolute joys and absolute pleasure. And I'm so excited to see where their future is going to take them, whether it's dance or anything else that they do. I feel that they're going to be very successful.
So I also just wanted to ask you, Chris, as well, you are going to be a major role in this presentation. Do you mind us talking for our listeners just a little bit more about yourself and your experience, as well as your role in this presentation?
Hi. So I was asked earlier this year by Todd Shanks. I was sent an email. We were all a lot of the dance managers were sent an email. We were asked about an audition opportunity coming up in the fall for a winter show, and I saw it was this Cape Symphony, which I had already been asked earlier in my high school time if I wanted to join a show through my dance program, and I immediately said yes, and I looked forward to it. And yeah, I came to the audition and got casted. So preparing for it was definitely stressful. I'm a dancer who's only been training for about 5 years. So normally you'll see a lot of collegiate dancers dancing for lifetime of like 10 or even like since they were 2. But growing up, I was your average kid trying different things like baseball, basketball, soccer, and dance didn't really stick with me until I went to high school. And I really found that passion for dance. And it's really funny because what actually brought me to the love of dance is Nutcracker. And I think that that's true for a lot of dancers, is having that kind of, it's a time of year for us. So like having that kind of a connection and relationship with dance and performance. I find a lot of dancers here, they listen to Nutcracker music around this time because it reminds them of when they were young, and it pushes us through to the rest of the semester. So yeah.
Awesome. You are a Hyannis native. I have been made aware of. Where did you go to school? What was your high school experience?
Yeah, so I went to Sturgis Charter Public School for the majority of my high school. I started off most of my middle school education at St. Francis Xavier Preparatory School, which is now St. John Paul II. Um, and so it wasn't until I transferred to Sturgis Charter School that I had the opportunity to take a dance class, and that's where I kind of kindled that inspiration. Michelle Collier, she was my dance teacher, and I do have to thank her, and also my teacher Sheena Harper from Harper Dance Studio Center. Yeah.
That is awesome. When it comes to performing this particular role as well, is there a mindset like an actor that you like to get in, or is this more of like a sport where it's more about the physicality of it that you're trying to embody? Is there some extra piece of it that maybe is you think unknown to people who aren't familiar with dance that you'd like to share with the listeners?
For me, I really enjoy kind of the connection and the communication that um not only dance but music brings. So I feel like a lot of people are wowed by the factor that he can do like turns or his leg goes that high. And I mean, it's all kind of like a production of or I guess a response of trying to communicate a message. So when I do a turn, it's trying to communicate like, I don't know, there might be like an emphasis in the music, and I might just be trying to kind of communicate that and emphasize that. So I really try to dive deep into the connection between music and dance, and also the exploration of um natural dance almost, and like in the sense that like dance is everywhere and dance is movement. So I take a lot of like, you know, walks and stuff just to like notice how um things naturally move in the environment. For example, the we had the first snow the other week. I don't know if you guys had it down in Cape Cod, but um we got snow up here already. So I spent some time just watching the snowflakes. I even put on some Nutcracker, some pas de deux. So it's really funny how
Getting in the spirit.
exactly trying to get in character of prepared for the show.
All right, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And also, I want to highlight the other guest star of this event, Jung Ho Park himself. I did read it's your first appearance in ballet. I wasn't quite sure if you meant actually on the stage and not. Can you elaborate more for us? Will you be dancing? Will there be a show that you're putting on for the audience?
Well, I'm going to disappoint you. I'm not going to be wearing tights, but nor would you want me to. But let's say that Michelle has artfully incorporated me into the action, which I'm very appreciative of. But I actually took ballet in college a bit, and because I thought it would improve my ability to accompany dancers, and indeed, I think it really made a big difference in my understanding. But no, I won't be making any jetés across the stage. I'll leave that up to Chris.
It is also, actually a question for either yourself or Chris, but just the idea of both of you highlighted reaching out and developing other skills and looking to other places when it comes to informing your art. Do you think that that's something important for all artists to incorporate into into their art, into their profession, either when it comes to music or to dance?
Chris, why don't you take that?
Okay. I certainly I certainly like I advise that new dancers or even dancers that find struggle in coming up with ideas that they do look to like music. I mean, for us dancers, music is such a staple for us. We have to dance to music. And I feel now we're realizing we can dance without music and we can focus on other things like our breath and even like the simple things in life. And even in my anatomy class, I find like really like interesting connections with how our body is like already knows how to move and how to do these things, and it's all about your mindset and how you put yourself and what you expose yourself to and how you surround yourself.
And actually, some schools, when I know, for example, in Russia, they require all their dancers to learn piano. And I think being able to play an instrument and dance at the same time, I think it makes you a stronger, um, both a musician and a dancer. Would you agree, Michelle?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's pivotal for a performer who is going to dance to music, understands music at least a little bit, because it just a true musicality performer, if they have the musicality, it's nothing. You don't need your leg to be all the way in the air to communicate the message if you understand the musicality of the piece and what you're doing. Actually, both of our students who are casted as Clara have studied classical guitar, one of them within the Cape Symphony, and the other one has studied oboe.
Wow.
You could almost argue that a dancer is a musician, that they're interpreting the music and conveying it to an audience. So, I think probably only within the last couple hundred years that we have artificially bifurcated music and dance and the other arts. They are all really coming from the same source.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Michelle, in here it's written that this is the debut performance of the Cape Symphony Dance Company. So is this the first of its kind, and will we be expecting more in terms of physical dancers and performances from now on? Can you tell us a little bit more about the Cape Symphony Dance Company in general?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the first time that the Cape Symphony will be dancing on stage with the full symphony orchestra. So in that sense, it is an amazing opportunity for these kids and for myself. I'm really happy to be able to have choreographed a piece of this caliber. So yeah, I started working with them last July. My husband and I moved up from Brooklyn. We were 10 years in Brooklyn, and over the pandemic, we were part of the migration. So I started working for the Cape Symphony last July, and I was very graciously given the opportunity to work with some of the Cape Conservatory dancers, which are now under the umbrella of the Cape Symphony. We are one entity and better that way, and excited to all be working together with performance and education under one roof. So after working with some of the students, we established the Cape Symphony Dance Company. We had our first performance at the Four Seas, the community college across the street, in the spring. And this will be their second very large and very first debut with the full Cape Symphony Orchestra.
All right, I'm sure very exciting for everybody involved. Do you guys already maybe have nothing confirmed? I don't want to put you guys on the spot, but do you have more ideas for the future when it comes to other performances that might incorporate dance?
Absolutely. We're looking forward to working more together and creating a visual movement musical experience, and as many experiences we can, grab onto. Like you said, art, whether it's visual, musical, movement based, it's all coming from a very honest place and a place where people like to feel and communicate from. So we're happy to be that hub where everyone can kind of come together.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Jung Ho Pak, I have extra questions for you as well, but this is related more to the musical choices. We've got a few different pieces from all over, a lot of classic holiday tunes. We have some from John Williams as well, Home Alone. Do you mind talking a little bit more about some of the music choice? We also have the Carol of the Bells, which has a tradition associated with Ukrainian culture that maybe people do not realize. Do you mind elaborating on that more for us?
Yeah, it's a great place to start. Everyone is very painfully aware of what's happening in Ukraine these days. And it seems to be a good time for us, even during the holidays, which are a very happy and hopeful time, to take a moment and reflect on what's happening there. And also celebrate a culture that's incredibly musical. Ukraine's, of course, it goes back millennia in terms of their musical tradition. And to do a song like the Ukrainian Bell Song, which people know as Carol of the Bells, and to present it in a very special way. The lead singer, one of the lead singers for the Viva Trio, is Ukrainian. So she's agreed for us to make a special presentation. We only added this song about a month ago. And I'm also inviting to the stage a special guest conductor. Her name is Marika Kuzma, who is a specialist in Ukrainian music. She's also a former professor at UC Berkeley. So we really want to, in a very truthful way, shine a light on the beauty of Ukrainian culture, but also for us to lend support to that. And then, as you mentioned before, we have lots of great traditional carols, Angels We Have Heard on High, and Hark the Herald Angels Sing, O Holy Night, Joy to the World, so much more. But we also honor other cultures as well in terms of Hanukkah. We like to try to include something that is from the canon of great Hanukkah melodies, and we're going to do that this concert. The Chatham Chorale is joining us again. Once again, they're a staple for us during the holiday pops. They're going to sing two songs from the film Home Alone with music by John Williams. One is called Somewhere in My Memory, and the other one is called Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. I've asked my colleague and their music director, Joe Marcio, to conduct that piece. I'd love to share the podium with both Marika and Joe, and I think it just adds more contrast, more interest to the program, more texture to the program. So I think what you're sensing, Grady, is that if you come to this show, it's not one Christmas show. It's really like 6 different Christmas shows all in one. And one final thing is that for the Viva Trio, they are a very beautiful, very hip and stylish ensemble. They're also going to be accompanied by video as well. I think a lot of people who attend rock concerts, pops concerts, really are used to seeing multimedia during programs, and they're really going to see a beautiful video accompaniment with that program. And we're going to also create some digital projection behind the ballet dancers as well to create ambiance.
You mentioned this last time as well when we spoke for the Forever Young concert as well as over the summer. But you mentioned that you like to give shows, not necessarily like focusing entirely on the music. So I'm noticing a trend now. We're seeing a lot more visual media, especially with the presentations of dancers as well. Going forward, do you see many more presentations like the Nutcracker and some other more use of lights and shows and videography and whatnot?
Bingo, absolutely. I think the Cape Symphony for a long time has been on a journey of crossing over and creating new bridges to different art forms. World music, boy, we've had a lot of world musicians come from the Middle East and from Asia and South America, all over the world. And we love bringing actors and opera singers and dancers to the stage as well. When I think of the word symphony, it really means a coming together of sound and voices. And that's what you're going to see more of. I mean, we just, over the last 2 years, because of the pandemic, people are just gobbling up more and more forms of digital entertainment online. So they're used to a tremendous amount of variety being thrown at them and created just tons and tons of content every single day. We at the Cape Symphony acknowledge that people want more, and that's part of our strategies to give more.
Actually, I do a quick question actually for Chris as well, as you are a student still and you've been practicing this more from the educational standpoint. Have you been noticing any kind of changes that you think that your professors have brought up or instructors about how the recent dance escape has maybe varied compared to previous years, previous decades? Is there any tastes that you feel might be different yourself as a younger performer compared to some of your older contemporaries?
Yeah, so I feel that I kind of, especially because I didn't do dance really up until my sophomore year of high school, so I kind of had to put a different mindset on it. And I trained a lot in kung fu when I was younger, and that background kind of, it was kind of like a universal thought, you know what I mean? We focused a lot of kung fu about like spontaneousness and naturalness, and I think that's why I have that kind of connection with the natural and spontaneous way of my art form, whether that be music, whether that be dance. But yeah.
Very interesting. No, it's excellent to know. It's all about the breath and the movement and that the energy. It's good to know that that's the appeal for you. All right. Well, excellent questions. I'm sorry, excuse me, excellent answers. But I have an extra question as well for Jung Ho Pak, and that's related to Operation Santa Claus. This is going to be a event. Is also you guys are supporting the Cape Cod Military Support Foundation's Operation Santa Claus this year. Do you mind just talking a little bit more about that for our listeners? How people who want to get involved and want to support people this holiday season, how they can do that through you guys?
Yes, this is something that we've done for the past several years, and we combine with this group that is dedicated to providing toys to families who are military families who may not always have the means and the opportunity to give the amount of joy and love and appreciation to their children as they want to. Many of the family members are on base, and that's another thing that I don't think people realize. If you're new to the Cape, there's a huge military base on Cape Cod that houses many different armed force families. So this is a way for us in our community to say thank you. Thank you for protecting our country. Thank you for making Cape Cod your home. You're part of the family as well. So we have a huge little tugboat in front of the school. People can give Santa their toys, their gifts. We're looking for, obviously, hopefully, toys in good condition that can be wrapped and shared, new ideally. But we also, I think, accept cash gifts as well, or credit card. I think you can make a donation as well. So it's just really trying to reflect the heart of the season.
All right, awesome. Thank you guys all for joining for this conversation. I just wanted to go down the line one last time as well. Michelle, for our listeners, do you mind just telling us a little bit more about what you're hoping people will take away from this presentation? Some of the main message for you, what you've put a lot of work into, something that's very important that you hope that you can convey to the audience for this presentation.
I hope that people take away the magic that the holiday season can provide, of the simple joy of being with the people you love and listening to the music that you would love to hear, that inspires you, that makes you joyful. So I hope everybody walks away a little bit more transported and a little bit more leading with their heart.
All right, awesome. And Chris as well, do you have anything else that you hope that the audience members can really, read from you as you're giving this performance? Anything else that you wanted to highlight for our listeners?
I just hope that my smile translates to the audience, and they kind of bring that joy, the holiday joy, all the way through next year.
All right, awesome. And Jung Ho Park, is there anything else you wanted to highlight for our listeners while we still have you?
Well, aside from asking people to buy their tickets as early as they can, because we're selling like hotcakes, is that we're also have a New Year's Day program, a beautiful New Year's Day program just around the corner with two excellent singers singing everything from Mozart to Sarah Bareilles. It's going to be one of the more unusual concerts we've ever given, but it's going to celebrate the beauty of the human voice. So we hope that everyone has a fantastic new year. Stay safe, because we've got many more months and years of beautiful music to share with you.
And though a spoiler alert, I'm sure you'll be back again. But do you mind just talking a little bit about some of what people can expect for 2023? Just a bit of a teaser for some of your upcoming concerts.
Absolutely. Well, in January, we've got a concert called The Romantics. And but it's not necessarily romantic in terms of love, although you may feel that listening to the music. But the romantic period is really the center of our repertoire, the late 19th century Brahms and Richard Wagner and Robert Schumann. These composers really defined what the symphonic world is all about. So we're presenting a single concert that's going to focus on this great repertoire. We're going to feature also one of the most fantastic dynamic pianists up and coming. His name is Maxime Landau. And he's just really burning up the competition circuit, and his career is just taken off. He also has a Falmouth connection. So we're going to feature him in a very famous piano concerto. And our French horn section is going to be playing the Robert Schumann Concertstück. 4 French horns. If you've never seen 4 French horns stand up in front of an orchestra, it is a sight to behold. It's very rare, and we're going to be featuring them as well. And that's in January, just trying to look at that up real quick, and that is January 21st and 22nd, The Romantics. So that's a great way to begin the new season and the new year.
All right, awesome. Michelle, Chris, Jung Ho, thank you so much for joining me for this conversation. Good luck with the presentation. Thank you for taking some time to chat with me about it today.
Thank
It's our
you so much.
pleasure.
Thank you.